what did people do before refrigerators? I mean, let's take milk for example. That's been around for like a really long time. So how did people store it before the 1900s? Oh, look everybody, it's the entire country of Russia represented by one person. Okay. Anyway, Russia, this was actually a rhetorical question. I was about to move on to the answer, actually. You see, before refrigerators, one of the most common ways of... What are you doing? What? Why are you putting frogs in my milk? Right, so long before the invention of the fridge, Russia and Finland were known to keep their milk fresh by putting frogs in it. Why? Because in ancient Russian times, frogs were believed to be heaven-sent purifying demigods of bulbous chins that kept their milk fresh while simultaneously keeping away horrifying baby-consuming demons, as well as solicitors. No, that's a joke. Actually, it was because their frogs had peptides on their skin that killed bacteria. Still though, pretty weird. Anyway, this froggy factoid got me thinking on the topic of food, and more specifically, history's unconventional and weird practice of it. So I did some intense research, also known as looking up stuff like weird food history and clicking on BuzzFeed articles, and found a lot of weird facts. Here's some highlights. Okay, first off, peas, right? Science shows that the number one use for peas is eating them. Second close only to squishing them, which is just a total blast. However, in ye old 19th century and early 20th century England, another use for peas was a poor man's alarm clock. You see, a common job at this horrible time was being what's called a knocker-upper, an excellent career choice for people who have nothing to do in the morning and need 3 pence a week. Basically, what you would do is go to people's houses and just wake them up. You could do this with knocking, a baton, or just straight up slapping them. But, here's a predicament. Maybe you ain't got time to climb all the way up to Mrs. Robinson's shanty apartment on the 6th floor of 12th Street, so what do? You toss peas at them. Yes, this was a semi-common tactic of your everyday knocker-upper, taking a literal pea shooter and Gatling peas at your customers' faces till they finally got out of bed and went to work. Anyway, speaking of transitions, muffins, right? Everyone loves muffins. They're like cupcakes, except without the part that most people like about cupcakes. But you know what has always been missing from the construction of a muffin for me? Their lack of explosive qualities. Luckily, during World War II times, the OSS came up with this genius idea of fighting the Japanese by putting explosives in their flour in order to bake them into muffin grenades and pancake bombs. Because when it comes to morbid tools of destruction, nothing is less suspecting than a muffin. And the best part about all of this was that the muffins were actually edible. It was very highly recommended that you didn't eat the Boom Boom muffins, but I don't know, you could. It wouldn't explicitly kill you. You know what does explicitly kill you though? Dying. But luckily, wealthy people from the 1600s had a solution for preventing this. It was called f***ing eating people, and man, was it effective. Now, was it effective in the sense that it prevented death? No, because it didn't prevent death. In fact, it didn't do anything. However, it was effective in the sense that more people were eaten between the year 1600 and 1699 than there would have been if people didn't do this. But maybe eating people is a bit too soft-core for all you hoity-toity entrepreneurs. Well, luckily, another common tactic was rubbing dead people's blood and fat on your face to cure diseases. Anyway,
insert tremendously creative segue.
Which just so happens to be a perfect transition into my next topic, chocolate-based ammunition. In 1950, during the Korean War, there was a Marine division that had a quirky little name for all their murderous mortar rounds. Tootsie Rolls. So one day, all the soldiers are like, oh no, we're done darn out of Tootsie Rolls. So one soldier picked up the radio, was like, hey, we're done darn out of Tootsie Rolls. And the guy on the radio was like, okay. Now, I'm not entirely certain why this soldier just assumed that this guy on the radio would know he meant mortar rounds when he said Tootsie Rolls, and I similarly don't understand why the guy answering the request just didn't question the fact that the soldier just asked for a fudge airdrop. So, I feel like some communication would have helped here. But yeah, they got airdropped literal crates of Tootsie Rolls the next day. The soldiers opened their crates and were like, and just kind of sucked on the Tootsie Rolls in the winter and used them as putty to repair their guns and equipment. So, in the end, these Tootsie Rolls actually helped the Marines to survive the war. So, that's cool, I guess. You know what's not cool, though? Prohibition era. You know, that brief time in the 1920s when drinking alcohol was illegal. Yeah, it was a thing. One problem, though. You know when you tell a kid, hey, don't touch that, so then they touch it anyway just to spite you? Well, that's basically what happened with Prohibition. Turns out when the government tells people don't drink alcohol, they just drink it even more. And the government didn't like this, so they came up with this really good idea of what to do, and they started lethally poisoning the alcohol. And that ended up killing 10,000 people. Whoops. Speaking of accidental mass genocide, you know how people who use forks are heretics that aren't eating with their hands the way that God intended? Yeah, well, 11th century Italians thought the same. Eat your spaghetti with your hands, you heretics. Anyway, you disgusting fork users also probably have a deep passion for self-pleasure. And you know, maybe you want to subdue that passion. Well, here's a thought. Cornflakes! Wow. When John Kellogg initially accidentally invented the cornflake... when Will Kellogg initially accidentally invented the cornflake and John Kellogg stole it from him, he was like, you know what? I bet I could easily market this to all those little horny heretics. And he did do that.
Cornflakes. Why touch yourself when you could touch a cornflakes?
Anyway, so you know how you're always trying to get down to business to defeat the Huns? Well, it turns out the Huns used to put meat under their horses' saddles and sit on it to keep the meat fresh with salt and horse sweat. So maybe you want to reconsider, because that's pretty cool. Turns out sellers are a lazy man's tactic for food preservation. Real men put frog in their milk and horse on their meat. Anyway, speaking of bringing the entire video full circle, like and subscribe. Or don't. I only give a moderate to substantial number of hoots as to whether or not you do. Okay, bye.